Alright, 2025. Game of the Year contender. Tignan natin mga boss.
I don't think I'm going out on a limb here by saying that 2025 has been a pretty good year for games.
Teka, ano yan? Ano to?
The GTA 6 delay, it stings. Not gonna pretend it doesn't, but even without it, this has been a stacked year with a ton of interesting and different, diverse games. To
Confirm na, di ba? 2026, no?
some extent,
For ba o delay?
Delay, hindi. 2025 dapat ma-release siya this year. Kaso
I'm
next year na daw.
almost happier GTA is a 2026 game.
Yeah,
Gives all this other great stuff room to breathe, as well as some room to battle it out in what's probably the most stacked and crowded Game of the Year contests in recent memory. What makes this year's Game of the Year discussion so interesting is that there's no big, obvious frontrunner.
Silk Song in the game.
There's no GTA 5 or Elden Ring to take the air out of the room. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own
Night Train
personal
again.
favorites. But even among us here in the Game Ranks crew, there's varying opinions.
Ano to?
Split Fiction.
Split Fiction, saan pwede yan? Parang ano to eh.
Parang si It Takes Two.
Parang it takes to eh.
What could and should win, but even more so, just an evaluation of what probably will win. Often there's a game where
God of Wars, wala namang God of War this year eh.
Di naman sila
Next.
sasali.
Next year pa to, yung Egypt.
O yung
we're all like, well,
Pero depende
Kinukompete talaga nila si Rockstar
pero depende siguro kung ano.
Kinukompete si Rockstar.
Depende siguro
Si
kung
Wolverine. Si Wolverine.
possible Wolverine.
Next year yun, syempre.
Pero depende kasi may mga contender last year na pumapabor sa ano eh. Sony ano eh, no? Pagka Sony yung gumawa eh, no?
Yeah, wag natin
that's gonna win.
Mal-
Even if we
malalaman,
want it to,
malalaman.
we're not at that point. And yeah, I get it. It seems like it might be a little early to start this discussion, but
Yung
yung sino nanalo last year.
keep in mind, ballots for Game of the Year at the Game Awards go out early November, and the actual show airs between December 6th and 12th, depending on the year. In 2025, the show's airing December 11th, and because the ballots go out so early, games that come out in November and December just aren't eligible to win. Now, obviously, the Game Awards aren't the definitive Game of the Year. I mean, for the most part, it's considered the big one, but every website does their own awards, and everybody has their own personal top picks. A
Game of
lot
the
of the
Year,
time, you read a certain site or watch a certain person
Tulad
because
ng
you
Black
agree
Myth
with them,
Wukong.
and then what they put as Game of the Award matters more than the Game Awards to you, but collectively
Black
speaking,
Myth Wukong,
like the
versus
Oscars or the Emmys, the Game Awards are a lightning rod of discussion. It's the biggest award show in gaming, and no matter how much you or I might disagree with them, they're the big boys. So, hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, we're gonna run down the frankly ridiculous slate of
Edition
games
to,
in the
or
running of
DS2.
Game of the Year 2025. We're not doing it as a list
Possible.
necessarily here. I think this one's better
Monster
suited
Hunter
for a
Wilds.
more discussion format, because some games we're going to want to talk more about, some games we're going to want to talk less about. And before we get going, I just got to say, if you like what we do, we would really appreciate if you'd
Naman
subscribe to
siguro,
it. But without any
Elden
further ado, let's talk about how Game of the Year 2025 is going to be ridiculous. So, it's obviously fun to speculate.
Elden Ring,
Ang possible contenders talaga, yan.
DS2.
PS2, Expedition 33, Ghost of Yotei, Monster Hunter Wilds, Doom the Dark Ages siguro sa akin. And si
Elden Ring,
possible. Night
King Night Train. Pwede naman kasi bagong mechanics eh.
Pero
Bagong mechanics na Elden Ring eh.
pero hindi naman
Night Train.
hindi ko lang naririnig yun eh.
Matinding laban talaga dyan,
Expedition tsaka DS2. Para sa akin, Expedition tsaka DS2 to. Possible.
Paano man nanalo DLC? DLC lang yun eh.
Mini-milk nila.
And talk about Game of the Year, who's going to win, what lived up to the hype.
To, I can't see.
Di natin malalaman.
Posible to.
Astrobot nga nanalo.
What didn't, what deserves recognition, what isn't gonna get it. But
Ayun, Metal Gear.
Pala, no?
Tsaka Silent Hill F pa rin pala.
Snake Eater.
Pero 50-50 ako kay ano eh.
Snake Eater.
Snake Eater
Kasi
eh. Remake lang eh. Pero good job naman yung ginawa nila ron talaga.
Tayo Silent Hill F.
Si ano eh.
Silent Hill F. Depende sa vote eh.
Depende.
Of course, if you like a game and you play the game and you enjoy the game, that's what really matters. This is just fun to speculate about, especially if you're terminally industry brained like we all are here. So before we get into what games we do
GOTY,
think
daming
will make up
kasabi.
the
Nine
primary
over din
nominees
eh.
for the Game Awards, let's just run down how
Alaman.
much of an insane year it's been. So what's so interesting about 2025, it's a pretty solid mix of more standard, expected, highly anticipated, hyped, or even overhyped big games, and those sort of out of nowhere surprise slam dunk.
Mukhang solid din yung Expedition 33, no? Di pa natin nalalaro eh, pero mukhang solid eh.
There's been plenty of it, starting with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 in February. This game kind of caught us all by surprise because while the first game is kind of a flawed gem, the sequel is absolutely excellent. It's got an engaging story, unique challenging gameplay, a beautiful world to explore, and it was impressively stable compared to how much of a buggy mess the original was. Kingdom Come was an immediate Game of the Year contender.
Parang siyang medieval times na
Na Game of Thrones.
It really is a huge step up from the first game, and it deserves all the accolades it got. Later the same month, though, we got another game that everybody pre-release was kind of like, oh, this is probably going to be a Game of the Year candidate, but it didn't really fully live up to the hype. That is, of course, Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, we can all have our different opinions on Monster Hunter Wilds. I actually think it's a logical step. It's quite a good game. It's basically what I want. A lot of people thought it's not as good as Monster Hunter World, but there's reasons why a more streamlined.
Ano yun eh, OG.
Hirap nyo din yan.
Hanggang ngayon may naglalaro eh. Worlds.
And experience works better for certain people, and there's reasons why it doesn't. And no judgment, whichever side of the line you are on that. I think we all know it's not really in the running now. There's also some pretty bad performance issues with it that I'm just gonna say are a serious mark against that game. But one of the prevailing conversations this year has been difficulty. Like, the majority of the biggest, most talked about games this year are uniquely demanding challenges. Kingdom Come goes a more simulation route with its difficulty, puts a lot of pressure on new players in a way a lot of open world RPGs like that don't. As the player gains skills and learns how the game works, it becomes less difficult, but it takes perseverance to get to that point. On the flip side, a lot of the complaints about Monster Hunter Wilds is that they made it too easy. People say it removed a lot of the challenge that make
Medyo madali.
Diba? Na-experience natin, diba? Dali.
Parang
Bilis
daling,
matapos ng campaign.
bilis mamatay ng monster.
those games so interesting, and that left people disappointed. I'm not sure that's really what it is, but I get why people are saying that too. But
Lalo pag may kasama ka.
Oo, yun. Lalo na pag may kasama
Split
ka.
Fiction, that's a game.
Kala ko nga magiging monster yun eh, si Akuma. Yung pala, naging ano pala yun,
Parang skin lang. Ganun.
skin.
It doesn't really fit the difficulty discussion. Came out March 6th. It's one of those games we all expected to be good, and it was. As a follow-up to It Takes Two, it's an absolute triumph of co-op game design. It's created.
Split
Kasi
fiction.
nanalo na din to ng
Ba't ano ba yung gumawa nito yung ano? It
It
Takes Two
was
rin.
a whole lot of fun while being mechanically a little more complex. Sure, the story is fluff, but It Takes Two story is odd to say the least at sometimes. And I'm just gonna say this one has a more entertaining story. It seems like
Nag-isipan talaga yun eh.
almost a
Takes Two.
prerequisite nomination. I feel like it would basically any other year. And at least early on, I think we all assumed 2025 wasn't going to be as stacked as it is. So maybe at the time, seemed like an easy lock for those 5 slots. But now in September, it's not an easy pick. Of course, it's still a great co-op game, and some of those early safety votes are, I mean, they make sense. I think Split Fiction's probably in the running. Well, there's a lot of talk about. So I'm gonna say I don't know that this is a guaranteed inclusion. I think it's fairly safe, but not a lock. Assassin's Creed Shadows came out March 20th, and it was generally considered a step up
Man,
Ano to? Assassin?
for the series. I don't think these win Game of the Year anymore. They're
after its horrible launch, dude,
gonna have to
this.
Easy.
completely reboot the whole thing or make a new one from the ground up, and I don't think
Parang ano Parang Yurei. Ay, parang Tushima.
they're going to do that. Getting back on track, I think the next major pick for many, especially at time of release, was Blueprints, which came out April 10th. It's a roguelike puzzle game. It's difficult to define, hard to pin down. I do think what drove so much of its appeal, especially early on, though,
Puzzle game lang to eh.
Dapat nga, sinama rito, POE to rin eh, no?
Oo nga eh.
is just that. It's weird, and it's a brutally challenging puzzle game that is literally full of surprises. There's genuinely mind-blowing stuff in this game, but it's all wrapped up in a semi-random roguelike structure. At first, it feels like the randomness is bullshit, and then you get far enough in, you start understanding that you can control the randomness, and it's satisfying as hell. And then you get further in, and the randomness starts to feel like bullshit again. It impresses early, and it's extremely difficult to solve on your own. But in this
Wait, ano to?
case, the difficulty of the game is a double-edged sword. Some people love it, some don't. I think opinions are a little more divisive now than back when it immediately came out, but ultimately,
Blueprint? Oh, okay.
Puzzle.
May mga ganito na silang game ngayon.
I think it's another major contender for Game of the Year, even with other more popular games overshadowing it, like Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Okay, pwede to.
Top 2 to.
A game that absolutely dominated the discussion and is in many ways still one of the front runners for Game of the Year 2025. I think people were seriously following the game before release. They knew it was going to be something special, but for a lot of us, it really blindsided us. You see this thing without knowing much about it, you assume it's going to be maybe a flawed cult classic or a middling JRPG wannabe. Instant Classic was definitely not on my bingo card. I talked about it repeatedly before it came out in upcoming game lists, and I mean, it looked cool to me, but I wasn't expecting it to, blow my mind or anything. It did, though. Like, coming from such a small team.
Dahil sabi na nagko-comment, hindi, kumbaga, nothing special dun sa experience niya. Parang, it's not possible hindi possible maging Game of the Year to. Nothing special. Kumbaga kasi nalaro na natin may mga nalaro na tayong mga
Ganyan. Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy, turn-based, diba?
Being sold for a lower price point. The level of quality is just
pinaganda yung graphics tsaka yung
through the roof. It's an excellent RPG, a beautiful story, excellent voice acting, incredible music, and an innovative battle system that remains a nostalgic throwback. It is that and a bold step forward at the same time. That's what makes the game work so well. While certain games have kind of inevitably faded from memory somewhat, the game is still heavily in the conversation. It's a constant source of debate and discussion. It's got challenging gameplay. It's complex, has a somewhat divisive story, and a weird relationship with the RPG genre, given it's from France and it's a Japanese RPG. One of those games that's deliberately old school, but also very modern in a way that speaks to people. It wasn't until June 26th that we did get another game with the same caliber with Death Stranding 2. Major games released between, like Doom: The Dark Ages, Mario Kart World, and the Game of the Year in our hearts, the masterpiece that was.
Who is this?
Brother. This game is gone, man.
Ito ba yung palpak nung nirelease? What the heck?
Mind's Eye, but none of those games fit the Game of the Year mold that everybody's expecting. Death Stranding 2 does. It's a massive game with tons of story full of
We're done.
Hollywood celebrities and cutting-edge technology made by Jeff Keighley's best friend Hideo Kojima. And there's a doll
that's a
man, and his name is Dollman. It's the type of thing that the Game Awards was made for. It's got everything an award show would want, and while it's in many ways a highlight reel of Kojima's career, it's still a fantastic game that irons out some of the flaws of the original, which maybe for some people makes it less of a unique experience compared to the first, but it's so much fun. It's weird and dark and goofy and slow and meditative sometimes, and a full-on action-packed thrill ride others. It's got everything. If you're on board with Kojima weirdness, which he leans into this time around, both in seriously dark content and fourth wall-breaking absurdity. I mean, it might be the best all-around game from Kojima, not necessarily the best of his games, but the best all-around of his games. But a game I don't think a lot of people were expecting us to talk about was Donkey Kong Bonanza, which came out in mid-July. Looked too many okay pre-release, nothing to get too hyped over.
Donkey Kong, Banana Guns.
Want to say, look back at me talking about it. I was like, this is going to be good. This is going to be good shit. And it was. Nintendo was really cooking with Mario Odyssey and Red Faction Guerrilla as the ingredients. It was the cross over nobody knew they wanted. It's one of the weirdest, most ambitious Nintendo games yet, and it's an absolutely just a delight from
Parang ano eh. Astrobot eh, oh. Tinan mo.
top to bottom. It's a game
We're not letting it.
Goods din naman yun.
We're not repeating the
that's
same
so unusual
again.
that it's actually a little off-putting at first. Like, what the hell is this? What am I playing? The more you play it, though, the more it makes sense. And it's hard to believe they were able to make a platform where you can basically destroy everything, and the game just works. The ambition is off the charts, and it works. Like, it is a fun ride from start to finish, and that entire ending sequence is completely insane. In a year full of some amazingly hype endings, Bonanza might have the hypest. But jumping ahead to September
Eto na,
4th,
Silk
that's the
Song.
Megaton Bob. It is known as Hollow Knight Silk Song. It was a meme because it took so long to come out. Most wish-listed game on Steam for many years. It was inevitable that this thing was at least going to be
Ito, di ba, Undertale?
Wishlist to? Okay
in Game of the Year discussion for whatever year it actually came out on, as long as it, was good. And while Monster Hunter Wilds got decried for being too easy, Silk Song has actually had some controversy for being too hard. I think the difficulty of this
Siguro top 1 ko sa Game of the Year talaga, no? DS2 Expedition, Silk Song, Wilds.
one caught people by surprise. And when it comes to difficult games, you never really know where the pendulum's going to swing in terms of overall opinion. But yeah, some extremely challenging games
Eto
got
na.
universal praise like Elden Ring. Sometimes difficulty generates a lot of criticism like Shadow of the Erd Tree. Opinions about Silk Song are pretty hot right now. There's a lot of back and forth in regards to difficulty, at least within its fan community. I think the gaming press opinions are a lot more generally positive. Back when we gave our first impressions, we weren't completely sure which way to lean on it, but haven't been able to fully finish it. I was crazy positive about the game, even though I was kind of not sure whether
Souls
to say
na 2D?
was what it needed to be or not. It's such an excellently designed game. So dense and satisfying. There's so many little details and secrets and surprises. It's a game that's it's so much fun to explore. And there's sometimes it makes you want to pull your hair
daw?
Game Awards.
out, yes, but it ultimately does play fair. It's very challenging, but I never feel like the game made me die. I feel like I died playing the game not good enough. The challenge is crazy, but it is
So, ibig sabihin, mahirap to.
super satisfying to finally finish off some boss you were initially struggling with. Like, just what you're getting here is nuts. For just $20, you get 50 hours of content.
Ooh.
And that's not 100%. It's not accessible in the way that the original Hollow Knight is, but man, does it deserve a spot among the Game of the Year contenders. Another game
Indiana Jones?
that deserves a spot
Indiana Jones.
is actually last year's Indiana Jones The Great Circle. It wasn't eligible last year because it
Uy, ano to?
Song na yan.
Tino mo.
was released.
Tino mo. Tino niya.
Spot is actually last year's Indiana Jones The Great Circle. It wasn't eligible
White beard.
last year
Whitebeard.
because it was released in December. I don't think it's going to get the attention it deserves because
Whitebeard.
it came out last year and people aren't going to be thinking about it. Man, is it an excellent game. And it's probably Machine Game's best. It's the best Indiana Jones adventure since The Last
Nilabas na ba to?
Crusade by
Nilabas na ba to?
frickin' Country Mile. And the
fan
gameplay is
ng
like
mga
closer to
adventure na
Dishonored than an Uncharted game. It's a super satisfying
Uncharted,
blockbuster of a game that I just wanted to give a shout out here because I don't think it's going to get the attention that it deserves. Other than that, what's left? And there's a few upcoming games with potential,
Huh?
like Hades 2 is releasing out of
Hades?
early access September 25th. Ghost of GOTY is
Ghost of Beauty.
coming October 2nd. It's been a while since we've gotten a proper AAA PlayStation Game of the Year. And the first Ghost of Tsushima, still
Hope.
They did by Boy 30.
holds a special place
Akala nila mga Game of the Year to eh.
in a
No?
lot of people's hearts. Right now, it's kind of hard to say how much attention the follow-up's going to get because what is it going to bring to the table that the original didn't? We'll see. Is it more of the game? Is that what people want? Is that enough? These are all questions we won't be
9
able to answer
over
until
10
we actually
karamihan ng
play the game. There's more big games
Silent
coming
Hill
out with a few.
Silent
Silent Hill F
Possible,
is going to be a big
possible.
one. Battlefield 6, Black Ops 7, Ninja Gaiden 4, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, Outer Worlds 2, Metroid Prime 4.
Outer Worlds.
Battlefield.
Don't think so.
But there's going to be a few of these that aren't even eligible. Call of Duty games also just don't win Game of the Year.
Eto pwedeng dalawa maglaban talaga.
Black Ops 6.
Tsaka sa ano?
Battlefield 6. Yes.
BF6 tsaka ano.
Battlefield games probably foolhardy to expect
Kaya,
that as well.
ano to?
Not an indictment of their quality.
Two Giant to.
It's just they don't generate the kind of buzz with the voting audience that a game like Silent Hill F, if done right, could. Kind of a wild card, could go either way. We've been surprised so many times this year, so who knows? So here, these are the games that I think are likely to be in the running for Game of the Year
GOTY.
2025. Clear Obscure Expedition 30.
Pix.
3, Death Stranding 2,
Di ba?
Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hollow Knight, Silk Song, Kingdom Come
Silk
Deliverance 2, Split Fiction, Blueprints, and maybe based on what happens when it comes out, what the game is when it comes out, Reputation certainly precedes it, but it could be, out of the running based on just being an uninspired follow-up. Ghost of Yotei. Hades 2 is a really good game, and the first one got a lot of buzz and awards, but this is not getting the attention the first one did. Might be wrong, could sweep the awards like the
PoE,
first game did, but at least right now, I just not seeing the hype.
Animated?
That's 7 pretty legitimate
Pwede, no?
contenders for
Makes sense naman yung binigay niyang list, no?
the big award. Even though we're leaving out some pretty popular and well-regarded games. I mean, Mario Kart World is very high-rated, and Elden Ring came out this year, though, and it's not even in the conversation. It's been a packed year without question, and that's not even counting some of the big possible dark horse candidates could sweep in out of nowhere. Now, to be clear, the games I'm going to call dark horses, I don't expect any of them to be in the
Dark
running.
horses.
Maybe they should be in the running, but I don't expect it. Like Schedule 1, it's a standout indie game, but it's just a little too early access. Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 could get some attention. And then there's the darkest of dark horses, a little indie game called Look Outside that has
GOTY.
burrowed into my brain, just won't go away. It's a relatively crude RPG maker game that somehow manages to be one of the most haunting, legitimately scary, yet also hilarious games I've ever played. There's nothing out there quite like Look
Nakakamiss
Outside.
maglaro ng
The more I
mga
think
ganyan
about it, the more I do feel it deserves a serious consideration, at least for nomination Game of the Year. It's pretty far from typical Game of the
Diba?
Year material, but look at the list. It's eclectic as hell. The gamut runs from most star-studded AAA to some pretty small indies. Blueprints was made by one guy, a solo developer. Silk Song was made by 3
Blueprint, man. Isang developer lang yung gumawa nito.
guys. I mean,
Itong Silk Song,
it's
3
triple
guys.
the amount of guys, but very
Damn.
few guys. These kinds of indie games, they would have no chance in hell a few years ago, but like War, things have changed. Indies are, I mean, the idea of an indie game is becoming mainstream. You don't release a game independently and just expect it to be mainstream, but it's possible now. Probably the most talked
3 developers, one developers. Kami nga sa team eh. 5, 6 na kami kasama PO. Front-end development lang ginagawa. Ito,
about an highly anticipated game of the year is Silk Song. So who's going to win, though? Now that, I have no idea. Last year, the winner was Astrobot, and that took some people by surprise. 2024 was kind of in a similar place where there was no clear winner, but I don't think the quality of the competition was quite the same. Everything's, really good this year. There's definitely some of the games we've mentioned today that are going to be considered all-time greats. We will remember at least some of these games decades from now. As good as this year's roster is, I kind of think Clear Obscure might be the front runner. It's kind of just catnip for the type of person that votes in these things. It's got the attention, it's got the hype. It's also an out of nowhere small developer doing something crazy that's considered big, but that doesn't mean the outcome's certain. Sometimes the safest pick is the most controversial pick. I suspect that played a bit of a part in why Astrobot won. Not to knock that game, but some people were kind of mad because it was just a safe choice. It's a great game though. If 2025 has an equivalent, it's maybe Death Stranding
mga great game naman daw yung Astrobot pagbigyan natin.
2 or Split Fiction. Possibly, again, depending on how it is when it comes out, Ghost of Yotei. The big breakaway here is that if you're into a wide variety of games, this has been a really good year with a lot of interesting stuff to play.
Yep. Really, really good year to play games.
And even if you're only interested in the absolute best of the best that gets awards attention, there's still a lot to
Dami
add.
pang backlog eh.
Of course, not every single
No.
game on here is going to be everyone's cup of tea. And sure, the Game Awards is literally just a popularity contest for industry folks. It's ultimately, what we're talking about here, because there's plenty of great games, and I'm not going to knock a great game. A lot of these games are somebody's favorite game. These kinds of awards favor a certain kind of game, though. Usually single player, generally story driven, often mechanically demanding or innovative, while still maintaining a level of traditional standards of quality. So the truth is that whatever wins or loses, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is your own
It doesn't
personal
really
game of the
matter.
year, your own favorites, your own
Yep.
not so favorites. Though it is nice to see
Lahat
something
maganda eh.
get recognized on a wider stage.
Lahat maganda.
I mean, we have to also acknowledge that Game of the Year sometimes feels a little bit meaningless. I mean, every video game under the sun gets a Game of the
Ano
Year
yan?
edition, no matter how good or bad it actually is. Everybody knows this stuff
Voting
doesn't
yan eh.
matter, but we can't help but obsess about it
Ah.
either way. For this reason, it's fun to talk about, right? I think so. And I think on that note, we have a comment section that you're more than welcome to talk about it with us and with others. So leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new.
Of the year. Pwede magkaroon ng Game Award.
Yep. And who do you think, mga boss, ang magiging Game of the Year this 2025? See ya.